Hey everybody, it's Gus from Skewed Reviews, and welcome back to Gus Talks Wrestling. And this is actually my part two of a two-part series that is all about WrestleMania 41. And this episode is all about WrestleMania Night 2, which is this upcoming Sunday. So the first match I'm going to talk about is the one that I think should open the show, and that is the Women's World Championship Triple Threat match, where we have Io Sky, Rhea Ripley, and Bianca Belair. Now, I absolutely love Rhea Ripley, and that's who I want to win, but I think the person who should win is Io Sky. Io is not only the smallest person in this match, but she's been completely disrespected by both Rhea and Bianca, and that's why I want her to win and retain. So hopefully she gets a bit of a title reign and can prove everyone else wrong that being tiny is not going to be detrimental to you being a champion. Now, the reason why I don't think it's an issue for Rhea to lose is because she has gotten herself so elevated in the company that she doesn't need a title to be able to be relevant. Now, the reason I don't think that Bianca should win is even though she would do well as a champion, I think she's better fit to go back to SmackDown and continue the whole storyline between her, Naomi, and Jade Cargill. Now, I don't foresee any part of that storyline coming into this triple threat match, but there is potential of maybe damage control showing up. They haven't really made much of an appearance of the group being together at all, but mind you, Asuka and Kairi Sane have been out on injury, so that's a big part of it. But I just don't imagine them getting involved in this, but they could. The next match I'm going to go over is the Sin City Street Fight between Damian Priest and Drew McIntyre. Not only do I want to, but I think Damian Priest should be the winner in this one, mainly due to the fact that McIntyre has kind of elevated himself to a point to where you could throw him into any storyline and he'd be fine. Priest, however, though, after losing the World Championship, they haven't really done a ton with him since then, and I think they need to kind of bring him back up from that point. Now, no matter which one of these guys wins this match, I think either one of them would be a good person to have next in line towards the Undisputed Championship. All right, moving on to the Women's Tag Team Championship match, where we have Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez versus Bailey and Lyra Valkyria. The first thing I want to say about this is I understand that they're trying to get as many people onto this card as possible, but it is a little sad that neither of the two new women's singles titles are being defended at WrestleMania. Now, as to who I think should win and who probably will, is Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez. The reason for this is their title reign has been short so far, so I do think they need to continue being a dominant force. Secondly, you have an opportunity here of having some sort of issue between Bailey and Lyra. They've looked great recently as a tag team, but you could have either one of them turn heel on the other one and then have that lead up to an Intercontinental Championship match. Me personally, I would like to see Lyra be the one to turn just because they've done absolutely nothing with her when it's come to the Intercontinental Championship, and I think that would at least give her an opportunity to do something new and different. Also, due to the fact that I'm never actually a big fan of Bailey as a heel. Not that I think she does a bad job, I just never find it interesting. Now, something really interesting that could happen at the end of this match is if you have Liv and Raquel win, and maybe they start beating up on the other two, you could then have Nikki Cross and Alexa Bliss coming out as members of the Wyatt Six and starting a new feud, because I know that there was some talks of that actually being the WrestleMania match for the tag titles, but I think there was issues with bringing back the Wyatt Six at first, whether it was Bo Dallas having an injury or whatever it was. But I think there is a great opportunity to set that up again to be the next feud. Next up, we have AJ Styles versus Logan Paul. This is going to be a good singles match, in my opinion. Both of them are very athletic, and I think they'll put on a great show. Now, I would want AJ to win, but I think it's going to be Logan Paul. I do feel there's every possibility that he's going to cheat to win. Also, a potential rumor I've heard is that Omos might show up. AJ might be like, oh, my old friend. And then Omos actually betrays him and aligns himself with Logan Paul. The two of them together could be an interesting story, especially if they wanted to put them towards the tag titles. The Fatal 4-Way Intercontinental Championship match is one that I'm really looking forward to, and I think is going to be one of the best parts of night two. You have Braun Breaker, Penta, Finn Balor, and Dominic Mysterio. Now, I love Braun Breaker, but I think not only should Dominic win, I think he will win. Mainly due to the fact of this really could set up a great feud between Dominic and Finn, especially if Dom ends up pinning Finn. I also think that Braun Breaker has done such a good job recently that he could continue on to something else after this, which he could be a great contender against either Gunther or Jey Uso. And if Jey does win, there's a great storyline there because Jey took the IC title off of Braun and Braun had to win it back from him. So now he could say that he could take the title away easily from Jey as he did with the IC one. And of course, there's Penta, who I definitely think is at a level that he doesn't need the title yet. You could throw him into anything and it would still be very entertaining. I really want to see him going against Chad Gable or El Grande Americano, since that kind of continues this whole Gable and Luchador feud thing. And then, of course, there's the match that's closing out WrestleMania, the undisputed championship of Cody Rhodes versus John Cena. I think there's every possibility that The Rock is going to show up during this. But I'm also curious as to whether or not Stone Cold Steve Austin will show up to be on Cody's side as some sort of kind of like manager or someone to keep The Rock out of the match. Now, whether or not either of those people get involved, I think the winner of this match, and this one honestly was very difficult for me to come up with what I think will happen, but I think John Cena should win this one, mainly due to the fact that if you have him win, he can go one of two very interesting routes. He can then continue on as this massive heel who is now the 16-time champion, or you could have it to where he does actually take his belt and goes home for a little bit and then maybe comes back at SummerSlam. Now, I would like to see Cody win because I love Cody, but I think it would be good for him to have this loss and come back even stronger next time around. And he's definitely at a level where he doesn't need to win to still be in this upper echelon. Now, since night one has 7 matches and night two only has 6 currently, I definitely think the Randy Orton versus a mystery opponent is going to happen on night two. Now, as to who his opponent could be, I've heard tons of theories. You could, of course, go with people that are now returning that haven't been in the company for forever, like Aleister Black or Rusev. Sheamus has been gone for a bit. You could also have Bo Dallas as Uncle Howdy coming back, especially if you're trying to have a big showing of the Wyatt Six. I've also heard possibility of maybe Omos or Karrion Kross or Kevin Owens, and he's not actually going to go through with the surgery. Shinsuke Nakamura could do it. You could have Ilya Dragunov coming back. You could even have Carmelo Hayes, although he seems a bit more tied up with tag title stuff at the moment. You could have someone coming up from NXT. You could bring in Joe Hendry, which would be really interesting in my opinion. I think another likely one could potentially be Ludwig Kaiser, but not an extremely potential. There is, of course, Nick Aldis, which I think is the one that everyone really wants to happen. Oh, another one I've heard is Ray Phoenix, but I think that's a bad idea because he's not that well known yet. And also, you'd pretty much have to just feed him to Randy because you can't have Randy lose to Phoenix, not unless you wanted to go like a Jericho Fandango route. Now, I know it's not likely that they would have 8 matches, but if they do, I really think the WWE Tag Team Championships should be in a ladder match. It's really set up for this. I mean, on SmackDown, have it be where the Street Profits retain, or it just becomes a giant mess, and then we have Pretty Deadly come out. Motor City Machine Guns are already out there. Street Profits are already out there. You have DIY and Los Garza come out. And of course, you now have Mellow Don't Miz with Carmelo Hayes and The Miz as a team as well. You now have 6 teams that could easily then be set up for a match in a ladder match for WrestleMania. So that's everything from night 2. Do you agree or disagree with my predictions?